But now that we've gotten that taken care of, let's jump into our main.java file. This appears to not have saved. And in here, this is where, like I said, your main function is, and it's going to be called whenever your application begins to run. Now, what we need to do first here is declare instances of our button and text view. Now, that's going to take place at the beginning of our method here. So we're going to say button. For consistency's sake, I call it the exact same that I called it in the interface builder for both action button and action text, which I actually, now thinking about it, I do not believe that I changed the ID property of our text field. I did not, or text view. So action text. Go ahead and save that. Return to our main.java. As you can see here, it's giving us errors that it doesn't recognize type button or text view. We can take care of that by organizing our imports, and you can do that by right-clicking on the file and the source, organize imports. I'm going to start using the Command Shift O hotkey, but as you can see here, now we've got new imports that were added to our application that got rid of those errors for us. Now, this code right here is actually creating the layout and the view that gets loaded into our emulator. If it's actually on the device, if you decide to export it to a device, this is the code that generates that view. Now, within that view, we need to assign the actual button and text view to the instances within this code so that we can access it in the code. The way that we do that is go ahead and reference the action button again, set that equal to find view by ID, and we want to do r.id dot, and just like the ID that we called, that we named in the properties of the interface builder, the action button. Go ahead and click that, hit enter, and end it with a semicolon. Only problem with this point is that we need to typecast what it is, because that method can return any type, and just to make it clear, we're going to typecast it as a button. You need to do the same thing for your text view. Find view by ID, and rather than both of these being capital, it should just be as you see there. And similar to the action button, we'll do action text. It didn't find that in the IntelliSense because, again, the hotkey, it doesn't seem to work for saving your files or your interface. And we're going to go ahead and typecast that as text view. Now, the next thing that we have to do is, now that we have our instances from the Java code connected to the actual buttons in the view, we need to identify when a button click takes place on our button. So for the action button, we're going to call a method in that class set on click listener. As you can see there, the IntelliSense will fill that through, and we're going to say this because it's the actual view that was loaded, this application. Now, again, we have an error here, but if we go ahead and organize our imports with Command Shift O, that still won't work. Okay, so we have to actually implement the on-click listener first. Apologize for that. So up at the declaration of your main method, you need to say implements on-click listener. And there again, we have some errors, but we need to go ahead and see what happens when we organize our imports. As you can see here, we have two options to choose from, either a view or content. Because we're dealing within a view, we need to do the android.view.onClick listener. So go ahead and finish that. Should add the imports and takes care of our errors there. Now we're going to declare it looks like there's still a problem here, and so we're going to add the implemented methods that come from that onClick listener import. So go ahead and say add unimplemented methods. As you can see here, it gave us an override method so that on click, when that button is clicked in the view, being our action button, we can tell it exactly what to do. What we want to do is, because the text is invisible to begin with, we want to show it. The way that we're going to handle that is with an if-else statement, and run if the action text dot get visibility, because we can't access the visibility without an actual get method. As you can see there, it returns an int type. If the get visibility is equal to 0, which 0 is equal to visible. And the reason why I'm handling it with visible is because there are, as you could see in the properties here, if we get back into properties, there's actually 3 values for the visibility: visible, invisible, gone. And I'm not sure why in Android development they assign these odd values for the visibility property, but visible is 0, invisible is 4, and I believe that gone is 8. So in case for some reason it was initially set to gone, we can just say, well, if it's visible, do this. Otherwise, if it's gone or invisible, we'll do this. So if it's visible, we want to take the action text and set the visibility to being invisible, like I said, 4. We also want to change the text of our button with the method setText. We want to set it to the string click to show text, just like we started with, but remember, this is now changing the visibility to invisible, so the next step after it's invisible, you'd want to show the text. It'll make sense once we get into the actual application running. But in the other cases where the text view is invisible or gone, we want to go ahead and set the visibility of the text field. I guess I was typing too fast for it to recognize an IntelliSense. We want to set that to visible, and then for the action button, we want to set the text to click to hide text. That's really all the code that we need for our application right now, and actually for the application as a whole. So here is the code that you need. We've got all the imports that are needed. There's no errors. Make sure again that you're highlighted on the main.java, and go ahead and run the application again. And you'll see in the emulator that this view will fade away, and it'll go to the home screen, and then you'll get a new view that'll load with the updated version of your application. Just give it a little bit. You do not need to restart your emulator and waste time waiting for it to load. So just keep the same emulator open, and it should find it as it tries to build and run it. Appears that, yep, it's still running. You can always check the console to see exactly where it's at in the installation. So here we've got our button and nothing else in the view. We click to show text, and there's our Hello Android World. Oh, I have a typo. Click to hide text, not hid text. But as you can see, it did change, and each instruction on the button is, I guess, consistent with what would need to take place or what would take place if the button was clicked. So I apologize for that typo. I'm going to go ahead and fix that and save it. But as far as this tutorial is concerned, you now have a working Hello World application for your Android phone. Hopefully I'll have more tutorials for you in the future. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that this is a good start for your Android development experience. Thanks. Have a great day.